Hi all, welcome back to C++ tutorial on Tooth Fulcrum. This session is on the function overloading in C++ programming language. So what is function overloading? We have discussed this in detail in our last session. It's nothing but the privilege to have multiple functions with the same name, provided they should differ in the parameter list. The functions should differ either in the number of arguments or the type of arguments or the order of the arguments. And we have taken an example of the display function. We have display function in 4 forms. The first one was with a single argument, which is of type integer. The second display function again with one argument, but the type is different here. It's of the float type. And the third one has 2 arguments. The first one is an integer and the second is a float. And the fourth display function also has 2 arguments, but here the order of the arguments are different. The first one is float and the second one is an integer. We have implemented this. Also, we have described in detail how this function overloading is working in C++ programming language. So in this session, we are going to discuss how function overloading is looked upon as a compile-time polymorphic behavior. We have seen that polymorphism is a pillar of an object-oriented programming language. So here, function overloading is an example of compile-time polymorphism. So we are going to discuss how it is an example of compile-time polymorphism. Or why do we say that function overloading is a kind of compile-time polymorphism? Let's quickly recollect what polymorphism is. The word polymorphism means having many forms. In simple words, we can define polymorphism as the ability of a message to be displayed in more than one form. Let's take a real-life example of polymorphism. A person at the same time can have different characteristics. Like a man at the same time is a father, a husband, an employee, a sportsman, etc. So the same person possesses different behavior in different situations. This is called polymorphism. We have already talked about this in one of our sessions. So how function overloading is exhibiting a polymorphic behavior. So here it's very clear that you have the same function name for all the 4 functions. It is the same as display. So the name is the same, but they do exist in different forms. When I say the form, the first kind is like the display function with only one integer argument. The second form is taking one argument with a float type. The third form of the display function is with 2 arguments, where the first argument is of the integer type and the second the float. And the fourth display function is of the form with 2 arguments, but the first argument is float and the second is an integer. So one display function existing in 4 different forms. So this is the reason why function overloading is called or is an example of polymorphism. Now, why compile-time polymorphism? Compile-time polymorphism is also known as static polymorphism or early binding or static binding. It is achieved by function overloading, or we have one more example for compile-time polymorphism in C++, which is operator overloading, which we will see in the coming sessions. The overloaded functions are invoked by matching the type and the number of arguments, and this is done at the compile time. So compiler selects the appropriate function at the compile time. So this is the reason why function overloading is taken as an example of compile time polymorphism. The binding of the function call to definition happens at the compile time, and the compiler is well aware to which function it has to map. Polymorphism is considered one of the important features of object-oriented programming. Polymorphism allows us to perform a single action in different ways. In other words, polymorphism allows you to define one interface and have multiple implementations. The word poly means many and morphs means forms. So it means many forms. As like our display function, one function name display but in 4 different forms. So keep in mind, function overloading is an example of compile-time polymorphism in C++. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe, and please don't forget to tap the bell icon. You'll get notified whenever we upload a new videos. Thank you.